Right, well, hello everyone, welcome. This is episode number 2 of Amusia. The tagline is still podcast for music nerds, because we're recording this like 15 minutes after episode 1 and I haven't thought of anything since then. Right, so I have with me Blake.
Hello.
And what were you talking to me about last time?
We were kind of covering everything, but we were mainly talking about my PhD, and in particular one-bit music.
Okay. It's hard to say that without sounding like, a PhD.
A little bit, yeah. See, I didn't introduce myself as Dr. Troise, which seems
like,
really
This
pretentious.
is when you look into the camera and go, but I could have done.
I could have done.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah. Well, it's because it's an interesting thing, I think. I'm having a bit of trouble understanding what it is.
Yeah.
But it sounds interesting.
Okay, well, that's half of it.
Hopefully we won't get to the end and go, oh, that's what it is. No thanks. We'll just scrap these 2 episodes.
Okay, yeah. Well, we shouldn't do.
Yeah. Also, I don't want anyone watching this or listening to this to think that we're just going to be talking about computer stuff or tech stuff. We're going to cover all sorts of stuff on Amusia.
Like what, Tom?
Well, I'll tell you, Blake, Dr. Troise.
Thank you.
Well, we've got book reviews coming up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything in particular?
Yes. You know.
I know.
Yeah, at some point we'll do the George Russell's Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization. That's going to get a book review.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be good.
It's not 5 stars.
No. Yeah, so that's one. I'm planning on doing one about the history and music of flamenco.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Because it's a very interesting topic.
I know nothing about it.
Yeah. So, like, loads of people don't really even know what it is. Like, there's loads of stuff I see people talking about. I go, oh, it's like flamenco, and it's like it's not. Like, it's a really interesting music that is sort of like criminally underrated or underappreciated, especially in outside of Spain. Like, obviously, it's going to be more there, but that's one of them. I've got some other ones planned. Like, we're going to look at some of Bach's music and analyze a lot of compositional devices.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot coming.
Yeah. We should definitely do one on the frequency spectrum or the harmonic series.
Yeah. Got one just on general science of sound and everything.
Yeah. Psychology of sound.
Yeah.
You're interested in that?
I am interested in that. I'm not an expert at anything, but we'll see what we can learn, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Let's get back on to this topic.
Right. So I think for this episode...
PhD.
Yes. For this episode, I think we should do one-bit music, or focus on one-bit music, and the different techniques and hacks you can use to give it polyphony. Because we mentioned last week that one-bit music is represented by a single binary digit, so the amplitude can either be high or low. It's not like it's loud or quiet necessarily, it's just it oscillates between 2 states, because there are only 2 states addressable by the system.
Okay.
So that basically implies that you can only have monophony, because as we mentioned,
what you would think.
Yeah,
if you're going to do one thing, it's like not even monophony. Is like how I would imagine it.
Yeah,
because even something that's monophonic, there's a lot of information in there. There's all the overtones and there's like articulations and things. This all to me, I would imagine, is data. But I guess I'm just wrong about this.
Well, so you've got the fact that the overtones aren't going anywhere, and
that sounds like a threat. You ain't going nowhere.
I mean, you can't help it, because we live in a world that is acoustic, and so whilst
Blake Troise,
Dr. Troise,
he's had that 2 days, and it's
yeah.
Okay.
So when you play back a digital sound, it's not like you get like stair-step, like digital audio coming out. You get analog audio because it has to go through a speaker, and the minute it starts getting into the air, you get all the overtones. I mean, and they're implicit in a square wave anyway. It's just square waves are super easy to generate electronically. That doesn't mean that it's the simplest possible sound acoustically. It's very complicated.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Is it the clarinet that's basically just odd-numbered overtones?
Yeah, it sounds very similar to a square wave.
Yeah, like so the volume of the overtones is not the same as a square wave, because if it was, the clarinet would just be a square wave that you play. And there would be was the things I mentioned last time. There's attack, so the non-musical noise. You just get a bunch of sounds whenever you produce a tone.
Yeah.
Actually, I should probably clarify what I mean, the difference between the two. So we perceive something to be a musical tone if the overtones are generally orderly in some way, in that we can kind of process it as a tone. And then something is noise if there's just too many variables. Like if I rustle a bag, there's no pitch to that. It's not like, oh, that's an F. There's no pitch at all.
No.
Because there is so much going on, it's not discernible to us as a tone. But whenever you produce a tone on an instrument, there is an initial non-musical noise that happens.
Yeah, for some sounds.
Yeah.
Often acoustic sounds.
Most things.
Yeah.
So like if you pluck a guitar, there'll just be like the sound of the pick or your finger on the string or whatever.
But remember, with a pulse wave or a square wave, if I just play that sound, there is no... the attack transient is just nothing. It just starts and stops.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it would sound different to a clarinet, even if the overtones were exactly the same, because there's still the attack and the flux, so the change in the volume generally of them over time.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, you can create that stuff digitally,
Yeah.
but it's not, I guess, natural. It's not the same as a clarinet.
No. We're
I-
just saying why they sound slightly different, even though they've got the same overtones.
Yeah.
There are other components. That was basically it.
I mean, my question is, and it's a bit unrelated, but if you
This isn't going to be
glissando...
a question about clarinets.
No, but I'm just... You know how noise is just completely disordered? If you glissando, technically you're going through loads of different harmonics and pitches, and they're all flying around, but yet we hear it as a continuous pitched sound.
That wasn't a question, was it?
It's a comment.
It's not the same thing.
Anyway, one-bit music.
Oh, did you want me to respond to that?
No, it's fine.
Because I've got nothing. And I really hope, by the way, that it is the clarinet I'm thinking of and it's not the oboe.
No, it definitely is,
Okay.
because I included that as an example. So yeah.
I do have a fact about the clarinet.
Okay, go on.
It was
Why
invented by Johann Christoph Denner.
What year?
Past.
Okay, so you've got half a fact.
1709.
Okay, well, we'll check that at the end, and we'll see whether you're right.
It's mostly a guess.
Educated, though, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am educated.
Okay, so one-bit music. So I keep mentioning pulse wave as opposed to square wave, because we've discussed square wave. They have only odd-numbered harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
So pulse waves are square waves with different high to low times. So you can think of a square wave as being made up of multiple fragments of little cycles. We call them wave cycles. So you've got your high time to your low time, and a square wave has 50% high time to low time. Am I making sense? No.
That's a good question. I'm also trying to keep track that all the tech stuff is working, so I keep getting distracted.
Yeah, it does seem to be freezing,
Yeah.
but it is recording.
This is like our first attempt, and it's a bit of a bodge job,
Yeah.
so you're going to have to bear with us.
I mean, is this staying in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not cutting anything out.
Right. Anyway, so you have square wave has a 50% high portion of the waveform to a 50% low portion. If we imagine the wave cycle,
the crest and the trough,
yes,
so they're equal.
yeah, the peak and the trough are equal, have equal kind of width within the wave cycle.
So is this true of other sounds? Like, are all sounds equal?
Are all sounds equal? No, not
Some are
necessarily.
more equal than others, though.
No, they're not. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know enough about just general acoustic instruments to answer that. I would imagine not. I'd imagine you can have wonky sine waves somehow.
Yeah.
But
That's probably what gives instruments their sort of imperfect sound. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but like we like that, don't we?
yeah,
It's the imperfections in sounds, like multiple strings playing together. They give it a more rich sound.
yeah.
That makes sense. So I'm not slagging off instruments.
So also, I don't know enough about it to say definitively whether all sounds that aren't pulse waves are like square signs or something.
We're moving on.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you vary, so that 50% to 50% has only odd harmonics, or every odd harmonic is missed, one or the other. And as we change that ratio, weird stuff starts to happen. So if I take it now to 25%, and 25% I'm referring to 25% high, 75% low of that wave cycle.
Okay.
Now we have every third harmonic is missed, or every second harmonic is missed rather. So we have harmonic, harmonic, miss, harmonic, harmonic, miss. Now if I halve that again to 12.5, to 12.5% high to 12.5%, no, that's a lie. Do maths for me.
No.
Okay.
87.5
Yes.
percentages of the total.
Yes. So low and 12.5% high.
And that's without a doctorate.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Easy.
And this changes the overtones.
Yeah. So in fact, so when we get to 12.5%, every fourth harmonic is missed. So it's every one, every two, every third. So the fourth one will be missed. So we go 1, 2, 3, miss. 1, 2, 3,
So
miss.
does it sound sort of richer and fuller the more you adjust the crest and the trop? Because surely that sounds more like a saw wave, or is more like on the way there.
You on the money.
Oh,
yeah.
did I?
Yeah, because as you reduce the pulse width, remember these missed harmonics are going to get fewer and fewer and fewer, and the missed harmonics eventually will be above human hearing. So it just sounds more and more like a saw wave as you change the width. So
you can basically create a sawtooth wave, which we discussed last week is all the overtones, right? So it's a very busy sound. If any of you have ever played it on a keyboard, you'll have heard it's just like a almost farty sort of noise. It's so busy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you can do this with one bit of information.
Yes.
By just jiggling the crests and the troughs of the sound wave. Right?
Yeah. But remember, the one bit refers to amplitudinal control, so amplitudinal depth. So it's either you can change the frequency. The frequency is completely continuous, so I can change how thin that pulse width goes. I just can't choose where in the amplitude it lands. Yeah. But you've got another interesting thing happening as you reduce the pulse width. You actually lose power in the lower harmonics. So as I reduce my pulse width, actually it gets quieter from the lower harmonics upwards. So even though you do get a saw wave when you're really, really thin, like you're talking like 6-point-something%, whatever half of 12.5 is, 6.25%. Nice. When you're like that thin,
quick maths.
Yeah, and decreasing, then it starts to sound more homogeneous, but just quieter. And because human hearing caps out at like 20K, it just is quieter to us. Okay. So you can change the volume of a fixed amplitude by just reducing the pulse width, which is incredible.
Oh. So there's, like we were saying, it's sort of just like tricking sound in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
Or like just finding loopholes in the laws of sound in a way. And
yeah,
okay.
And also, it's not.
So some of this is also contingent on human perception of it, right? Because you're saying it sounds quieter because it gets to a point where we can't hear the frequencies, but it isn't actually quieter then?
No, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's just...
So this is why dogs don't do well with
Well, their upper limit will be higher, but it will still work for them.
Yeah.
They'll just have to have thinner widths. You can also, sometimes, it depends on the medium that is transmitting the sound. So, for example, some speakers just don't go that high. So
because there's no need to build that in, I guess.
No, you really don't need it. I mean, sometimes they're lower than the maximum human hearing. Yeah. But
I did hear, by the way, that this common thing of 20,000 hertz is human limit. I've heard that it can be higher if it's incredibly loud.
Really?
I don't know if that's true, and I'm not going to fact check this. If you're thinking I'm going to put this in the video, I'm not.
Okay. Well,
I did read somewhere. You know what? I'll look it up for next time. Yeah. And then we'll see if it's true. I read somewhere that you could hear maybe up to 40K if you have it incredibly loud or something. But that could be wrong.
There is a paper that we can link because I did put it in my PhD.
Is it?
I have no idea who the authors are, but it was they ran an experiment to see whether you could just sense higher frequencies or higher harmonics, and it turns out that you're aware when they're not there, but you can't hear them as pitches.
Okay. Oh, so maybe that's it. It's more like you perceive them through your body as vibrations rather than hear them.
I don't think it was that. I think it's.
Oh, okay.
I think they might color the waveform downwards or something. I don't know.
Okay. Either way, that was just an aside, and it could be wrong. I really should derail you with my possible rubbish.
Oh, it's interesting though.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was saying the speaker analogy. The way to think about this, why it gets quieter, is because imagine I have a speaker that has a response time slower than the waveform I'm sending through it. So the speaker cone extends, but then before it's even extended to its full point, the waveform I'm sending through it has already said, oh, I'm going backwards. So it has to go backwards again. And then before it can reach the complete inward point, then the signal is saying, oh, come out again. So you can see that it never fully extends, so it will be quieter. And so as you increase that speed, it's going to not respond as much and it's going to get physically quieter. That's what's happening with your eardrum. Or, see, again, I think you're probably better on the biology of human hearing. I don't know whether the limit is the eardrum and the frequency response of the eardrum, or it's just we don't have the cilia to perceive it.
I'm not too hot on this topic.
Okay, well, we're going to have to...
That could be another episode.
Yeah.
So many reasons to stick around.
Cool. Yeah. So as you reduce the pulse width, it gets quieter. And I do have an example of this if you'd like to hear it.
Yes, please.
So this is a square wave progressively narrowed in pulse width over time. So it's going from 50% to 0%.
So is this, just to sum up, so is this is 1 bit?
Yeah, this is all 1 bit.
And that just means 1 bit at a time, right?
It means that the amplitude can either be off or on.
Okay. And that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So with that limitation and your sorcery, we're going to hear something weird.
This is physics.
Is this a weird thing we heard last?
This is not the weird thing. We get to that. We're getting to polyphony later.
Ooh, my favourite phony.
All right. And you can hear it faded out, even though it didn't. The signal was there the whole time. It's just it got super, super thin, and then we couldn't hear it anymore.
Was that an A?
I can't, do you want me to check now?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, you're going to have to bear with me while I open up FL.
Hang on. Right. That's in tune. Am I wrong? I'm off.
Slightly.
Damn.
Anyway.
I thought my pitch was getting better. Apparently not.
Shame. And we've got that recorded as well. That's the first time you try to guess a pitch and it's wrong.
I'll get better. That's another reason to keep watching. Will I get better at it? Some people don't think you can. I suspect you can.
You've kind of been doing an experiment, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
But maybe for another time.
That's a different topic. No one cares.
Okay, so you can use this to...
I'll cut that out. It's embarrassing.
What?
No, I'm not.
No, everything's staying in.
Okay.
So you can use this timbral homogeny at the thinner widths and heterogeny at the wider widths. So it sounds the timbrels sound very different wider, but they sound very much the same as they get thinner.
Can I hear that again?
So you want to hear...
Just after that description.
The pulse width sweep again.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, so I got tinnier and sort of quieter.
Yeah.
And that's just from moving the crest and the...
Yeah, it's the peak and the trough. So that's just changing the percentage high to percentage low and then reducing the high time.
Okay.
The other thing I should mention is if I have a 75% waveform, that's equivalent to a 25% pulse width waveform. It's because anything from 50%, it just sounds the same. Humans can't hear phase inversion. So we can't hear whether the high time is, as long as the ratios are the same, the high time and the low time, if they're flipped upside down, we just can't tell. Okay. So they are basically the same thing.
Okay.
So yeah, you can use this to musical effect. So what I've got here is a envelope, an ADSR envelope. So this is what you kind of call flux.
What does ADSR stand for?
Attack, decay, sustain, release.
4 horsemen.
Yeah, of the envelope apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't. There are more. There are envelopes that allow you to change the flux, as you said. I've learned that word today.
You learned that word.
Yeah. Well, you know, the
Back to the Future.
Anyway,
I hope I was using it right. I was assuming you knew it.
No, I didn't.
Oh man, I don't have a safety net.
I just want to look clever. So what I've got here is I've got 2 different types of envelope you can make. So you're saying the characteristics of a waveform are defined by their attack. So we call this a transient. So the period of attack is the attack transient. Then we have a sustain transient or decay transient before that, and then a release transient. So this is what I've done is I've just changed the volume to make that 1-bit pulse wave sound a bit more like an instrument. So I'll just play the example now. I'll play it again.
Yeah, please play that again.
So, although it sounds like a pulse wave,
That's a really funny sound.
it's a funny sound.
It's like a fly dying.
Okay, thanks. You know, I did spend 4 years on this. So
Nice job, mate.
um,
It's like your doctorate is that noise.
yeah.
I spent 4 years crafting the best noise.
Yeah, it's cool though because we've gone from just a fixed sound that you can't change the amplitude that just sounds like a obnoxious clarinet to something that is nasally and mosquito-like, but it changes in volume. Like we actually have enveloping now.
Okay.
And so this is one of the. No, I won't move on to the techniques because they have polyphony, and I'll do polyphony before. So anyway, you can use this to make some really interesting instruments. So here's some examples going, because they were quite thin. If you noticed, I wasn't going above about 6% duty cycle, because then it sounds, again, homogeneous. It sounds like the same instrument, even if it is nasally. So this is kind of using the whole width now, and it's lots of different sounds, but using both enveloping and the timbre changes, the wider widths.
So there's definite changes in timbre there.
Yeah.
Really, really obvious. So, sorry, say again exactly what did you do to that?
So what I've done is, so in the first example, my maximum width was about 6.25% pulse width duty cycle. And this one, my maximum width is all the way up to square. But I've just changed I've used the volume all the way up to the maximum pulse width and then back down again. So they all sound like different instruments. Okay. Sort of play it again if you like.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can make some interesting sounds.
So just to clarify, we are going to hear like some proper music used with all this.
Yeah.
I'm not slagging off your noise. It's a great noise.
We'll build up to it.
It sounds like you spent 4 years on it.
Yeah.
But I just like there's another reason for people to stick around and begging again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna hear some really good music.
Yeah. We'll play like.
If I know anything about your harmonic palette, it's going to have minor 4 chords in it, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a section. There is a whole section which is just 1 minor 4, 1 minor 4.
He loves it.
Yeah,
I can't get enough.
It's biological. I just love the movement from 4 to minor 4. You can even go just like if you just want that hit, like you can just go from 1 to minor 4, and I just love it.
Yeah, loads of tunes do.
Yeah.
What's it? Waltz of the Flowers? That Tchaikovsky one?
You just reminded the Blue Danube does it.
Does it?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It doesn't do it. It goes like do 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 minor 4 do 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 do. Yeah.
There's loads of good tunes that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just the 4 to minor 4. That's all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. I was watching someone play the other day, right? He was singing.
Yeah.
He was playing a C chord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Okay, I'm with you.
Played a C7.
Oh.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
So obviously he's going to the 4.
Yeah.
So he went to the F.
Okay, chromatic movement. Yeah.
And then he just went back to C and there was no minor 4.
That's the worst.
I was so angry.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst music.
It's that thing where you set up that...
Like, there's one, like, you just move one semitone, and well, no, you don't move that one semitone. You've gone from the best to the worst.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, this is that thing with it's not an interrupted cadence, but it's where you set up a really nice cadence. Like you've gone to like 4 minor 4. You've stuck the B flat in the bass, so it's like a B flat 11 something, and you think, okay, we're gonna go back to C, but then they just go 5 7 1. So what have you done? You've just ruined it.
You monster. You're sick.
Anyway, yeah, I've got another example to show you. So
we can do another episode just on cool chromatic chords.
We totally should.
KKK. No, not that. CCC.
Okay. I can show you the other example. It's showing you that as I move between different widths in my envelope, so envelope is changing volume over time or something else over time, you can hear that at the wider widths, it just sounds like a change in timbre, but at the thinner widths, it sounds like a change in volume. I'll play that again.
it is starting to sound like game music now.
Yeah, so it's quite.
The palette's coming to life.
So we're gonna move on to the most exciting bit now, which is
This is the most exciting bit.
bit. Yeah,
Is that a pun?
pun intended. Yeah.
You know, when you make a pun, make sure you look into the camera.
Okay,
and wink.
sorry. Do you want to edit this?
No.
So, okay. I'll
I
just
think
say
I
it
made
again.
my editing policy very clear. It's staying in.
Okay. Well, this isn't the most exciting bit.
Huh? What? I don't get it.
Okay, right. Anyway, I'm moving on. Polyphony.
I like that.
See, how, Blake, you ask, can you have polyphony in a one-bit environment?
You asked that. No, do you want me to ask it?
Yeah, ask me.
The thing you just said.
Yeah.
Well, how can you have polyphony in a one-bit environment?
Okay.
Please.
So there are two main techniques, and I will preface this by saying I've not seen the terminology. There's lots of different terminology, and the terminology I'm using is taken from the One Bit Forum. So this is by a musician called Utz, who mentions this terminology for these two different techniques. Utz, UTS. Yeah.
Isn't that all...
No, UTZ. Sorry.
Oh, isn't that like a thing already?
Is it?
I don't know. Isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know what I'm thinking. It sounds like a delivery company. I probably think there's something else.
UPS.
That's probably what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah. So the first method I'm going to talk about is the pin pulse method.
Pin pulse method.
Pin pulse method.
Okay.
Okay. All good on the technical front? Yeah. We ready for this?
Yep. Just
Okay.
checking it's still rolling.
Yeah. It does seem
And
to
how
be.
long we've been talking?
How long have we been talking?
Nearly half hour.
Really? Oh. I mean, we can wrap it up and do it next time.
No, we'll get it done.
Okay. Right. We'll get it out of the way.
There's no way anyone's going to listen to 3 episodes of this.
Okay. Thanks.
Especially me.
Okay,
No.
right. The pin pulse method.
Okay.
So, you know how I said you can change the pulse width and you can make it very, very thin? Well, what if you have multiple pulses that are super thin and you just put them all on the same signal? Because the problem with adding two things together is that when my sine wave, the peaks line up, I will get phase addition. So my 1 amplitude will add to my 1 amplitude and it will go up to a 2 amplitude and then get sliced off. So I only get a 1. So it will clip, essentially. You know how clipping works in a DAW, where if you go too much beyond the maximum amplitude, it just cuts off and you get like a square wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it will clip. But if you reduce the amount of pulse interactions by keeping the pulse width super thin, you can actually have a ton of signals on the same channel. And when they do overlap, it happens every so often, so we don't mind. We just it just sounds like a bit of distortion. But we do actually get polyphony, true polyphony, on a 1-bit signal. So I'm going to show you 2 waveforms combined at an interval of a major third using the pin pulse method. So both voices will be modulated from 100% through to 0% duty cycles. So it's going to sound like nonsense, and then you're going to start to be able to hear those sounds again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I could definitely hear polyphony there.
Yeah.
But the third was really clear, especially.
Yeah. So that's all that's happening is I've got 2 waveforms, and just to get a bit technical, I'm anding them together. I'm using an and
What?
operation. I don't really want to get into bitwise
Okay.
operations, but essentially what's happening if
If
it's
that's a bit too much for this, then good lord.
a bit too much.
Not that joke. We've made that one. Bit. Joke.
Okay.
Awful.
So essentially what's happening is when the waveform is 0, and they're both 0, the resultant waveform will be 0. When at every instance the amplitude is 1 and 0, then it will be 1. If the amplitude is 1 and 1, then it will be 1, and that's when you get the clipping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we hear that sound again?
Yeah, let's play it again. In fact, shall I show you a chord? So this is a chord of 5 different pulse waves on one 1-bit channel, and they will
What's
be...
the chord?
The chord is I think it's an add 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
An add 9, so it's like a major 7 with a 9? Or
No, add 9.
it's just a dominant 7.
No, it's just an add 9 chord or a C2.
Oh, because you said there's like 5 notes. Did you not say there's 5? Or is it just 5?
I think it's
Or
5
is
notes.
one of them doubled?
But yeah, one of them is, I think the octave is doubled.
Okay.
Okay. I can double check, but I did this a while ago.
Oh.
So this is basically, it starts at 0% duty cycle, so there's nothing. And then it expands out, and you can hear it just interfering more and more as those pulse events, those high time events overlap, and you get clipping.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, this is a really cool sound.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Right, so that's the first method, and you get true polyphony. But the problem is you can't have wide pulse widths. So, when we said the different timbre characteristics, you only get that mosquito kind of sound. You can only do that stuff. Okay. I can show you some examples of music.
Try to keep your arms on the table, just so it doesn't wobble.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. I can show you some examples of music with this in.
Yes. Finally. Over an hour in, we're actually going to hear some music on this music podcast.
Okay, so this is a piece written by Tim Follin called Kronos.
Who is that?
You might recognise his name. He did a lot of NES soundtracks.
Any games?
Silver Surfer is probably his most famous one.
Okay, I don't have that one. I have a big stack of NES games in the other room.
Okay, that's a weird brag.
I have some really old things in my house.
So he did Pictionary as well.
Pictionary?
On NES, yeah.
I didn't know that was a NES game either.
Yeah. Oh, I should say that I don't think the Americans like NES. I think it's
they call it NES.
NES or NES, yeah.
Yeah, in case anyone listens to this in America, we're talking about the NES, because you couldn't work that out.
Yeah. Okay, so this is for the ZX Spectrum, and this is from a game called Kronos, and it's got a ton of pulse waves, all really, really tiny little pulse waves, all like slapped together in one single channel.
Is the song Kronos or the game?
The game's Kronos, but the song is just the title music.
Good. Just checking.
So now you can appreciate how that was made.
Cool. So he used all these techniques that you've been...
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, pretty much everything I've said today.
So could he have done your doctorate if you'd bothered to get around to it?
My doctorate isn't in one-bit music. I just used one-bit music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's because it turns out...
I still think... Anyway.
See, the problem is I have to explain what one-bit music is for you to understand exactly what I did in my doctorate. But, one-bit music is... It turns out it's the smallest possible routine you can make, which is most efficient and requires the least CPU power. It's just toggling a voltage high to low to make one-bit music.
Okay.
The other technique, and the final polyphonic technique I'm going to mention, is the pulse interleaving method.
Okay.
We're all good?
Yeah, I was just checking.
Cool. I promise this is the last one, and we don't have to talk about one-bit music anymore.
No, that's fine.
Right.
That camera's not plugged in. Just need to check it's not going to run out of battery.
Oh, okay.
That was all.
Sure.
In fact, I was hoping you wouldn't mention it because I was just not going to show me doing that.
Okay, you did kind of just look over there and stand up a bit.
Yeah, but I'm not showing all camera shots at the same time. It would have just been you.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Do you think we're going to have like just a grid of shots?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
All the bits where I've just been like checking stuff out, I'm not keeping that in. See, I'm doing stuff now.
Okay.
It's not going in.
Sure. I mean, it is now. It's really confusing.
Right, okay.
Right, so the pulse interleaving method. So this is where that cool sound, you'll finally get to hear what that was about. So, you know how arpeggios work?
Yes.
Can you explain it?
It's playing the notes of a chord individually.
Okay.
I believe it stems from the word for harp. I think so.
Okay.
Because you always hear sort of flowing notes. Yeah. Is that, well, was that? Did you just play that?
No, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's taking a chord like a triad or whatever and just playing all the notes individually.
Okay.
Or sequentially.
Yeah. So
apparently, here's another thing.
Yeah.
This is another one of these. I'm having a go.
Yeah, go on.
I think the correct plural is arpeggii.
Is it?
I read that once, and then I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Is it not arpeggios?
Arpeggios.
Yeah.
It makes them sound like feet.
Well, is it Grecian in origin?
Is that okay?
But
We really shouldn't go into topics we don't know what we're talking about.
yeah, we shouldn't. Anyway,
You know what? Next time I'll have my friend who can speak or read ancient Greek, and he can check us on everything.
really?
Yeah, he's learning Latin and Greek, so he can just like slap us if we get stuff wrong.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
So the pulse interleaving method, as I said, is essentially an arpeggio. Now, if you arpeggio super fast, you hear it a lot in chip music. It sounds like a chord. You kind of hear each of the constituent notes. I mean, Bach does it, doesn't he? Like in his monophonic works, you hear like a violin do it like a just because he's implying a chord by moving through each of its
like we were
constituent
talking
parts.
about the cello suites. Like there's the famous cello suite number 1, the prelude. Like it begins with very clear G major arpeggio, and then moves around like I think it goes to the 4 and then the 5 and back to the 1, but he keeps the 1 in the bass.
Okay.
But it's like it's very clear. Like you hear that it's 1 and then 4 and then 5 over the 1. Like yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So imagine if you were to arpeggio so fast that you don't hear each of the constituent notes. That is the pulse interleaving method. You hear it as a unison rather than a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're arpeggiating so fast, individual notes are not discernible.
Yes.
So this is sort of another thing that relies on tricking human perception rather than sound in a way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is a bit. Yes. Yes,
Like-
because it also, if you had a speaker that couldn't replicate certain frequencies, it would truly be a combination of the two. But like if you had the best speaker in the world that had like infinite bandwidth, impossible, a platonic speaker, if you will.
I will not.
Going through like perfect air that could replicate everything, then maybe it would be an arpeggio. It would never be truly a unison. But okay, I'll play this now and then I'll comment on a weird sound that you'll hear.
Really cool sound. So that entire glissando is just by quick.
Yeah, it's because you get a third waveform in there. So as you turn on, remember this is one bit. So as I turn off a pulse wave, it's going to click as if that was part of the signal. And if you keep those clicks going fast enough, and because they are regular, you get another tone introduced. You get a third sound, and you can kind of hear it. It's kind of, and it's slowly, as I increase the speed, that pitch is getting faster. As it goes up and up and up and up, what you want to do is you want to push that mixing tone, they call it a parasite tone, you want to push that...
Parasite tone?
Yeah, parasite tone. You want to push that above human hearing or the maximum frequency of the medium you're communicating.
So you're going to trick the ear or the speakers, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once that goes beyond, it's just not there anymore. And so you do hear two simultaneous notes.
That's cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah. That's cool. Should we hear it again?
Yeah.
After that description? Really cool.
Yeah.
So how fast are they rocking back and forth there?
They've got to be. It's faster than 20,000 times a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you had a pianist with perfect fingers,
I think
if you were sort of like, I don't know if it's a trill, if it's like a third, but you know what I mean. If he's like playing that quickly, is that something that is theoretically possible with a keyboard that could do it and a person that could do it?
Yeah, why not?
It is.
But the problem is that you'll have a decay on the piano that you can't get rid of.
Okay.
So it
I'll
will
say
always
he's playing a
overlap.
synth or something.
Yeah, he could do that. Sure,
That's
if you could do
cool.
it 20,000
So
times a
you
second.
can create. It's possible to create an effect like that.
Yeah, in the real world,
If you had like a robot hand,
Yeah.
or whatever.
you
We could
wouldn't
send-
hear the distinction.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna hear the music.
Let's hear some music that I wrote.
Oh, written by Blake Troise.
I
Is this for your PhD?
yeah.
What's it called? Has it got a name?
Well, I don't know which one to play you because they all have quite long introductions. I don't know whether to play the whole thing or they're quite long pieces.
Does this come up? Do all the techniques you talked about come up in these?
Yeah, they should all do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play the whole thing. It's 3 minutes 28. We can end the podcast with it if you like.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Is there anything that you want to say about it before we?
Yeah, so you'll hear it's not using the pin pulse method. It's using the pulse interleaving method. It's got 4 channels. 3 of those channels are pulse waves or rapidly arpeggiating, and the 4th one is a sampler channel. And I didn't come onto this because it's something else entirely, but you can make samples, analog samples using 1-bit techniques as well. Because if you
So you could replicate a recording.
You can do, yeah. In fact, there was was it Philips? They had something called the Super Audio Cart. No, that's a VST contact plugin.
That you happen to contribute to.
I did contribute
So
to it.
this
Yeah.
sounds like the worst kind of accident.
Plug, yeah.
Oh dear! I just accidentally plugged something.
No.
That helped.
It's Super Audio CD, I think it was called, and it
Okay.
was like 1-bit audio going super fast. I mean, I don't want to get into pulse width modulation, or because that is how analog signals are made in all kinds of things, how you dim LEDs and stuff.
Okay.
But just accept that there are drum sounds in this
Okay.
that are made with 1-bit, and
Okay.
they're all arpeggiated together.
And this is made with 1 bit at a
Yeah,
time.
there is only one. The amplitude is either high or low. There's actually really no polyphony going on.
Okay. Is there anything you want to say about the song itself, musically?
It's kind of all over the place, but it should demonstrate all the different kinds of sounds you can make. It exploits the enveloping effect. It exploits the different timbres you can make.
Oh, I meant more musically. What were you going for?
What was it? Nothing. It was going for it's a tech demo.
It's a jazzy kind of tune.
It's a proggy kind of tune. I mean, it starts off with a Paganini-esque pastiche,
Okay.
with the intro almost taken directly from Crossroads. And then
Do you mean the Fifth Caprice
yes.
rather than the name of the movie that they played it in? Sort of.
Yeah, taken from the movie, you know, that bit. Because it's actually not the Fifth Caprice, is it?
It's based on it. It changes somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
It's clearly the Fifth Caprice, but slightly different. And he does also play the Fifth Caprice at the beginning of the movie on a classical guitar.
Okay.
And the arpeggios are played differently, but it's the same arpeggios. Arpeggii.
Arpeggios.
Arpeggios.
So it starts off with that,
Okay.
and then it goes into a Paganini-esque kind of thing.
What's it called?
It's called Paganini's Been at the Bins.
What? He's been at the bins.
He's been at the bins again.
He was like one of the richest musicians ever.
And yet,
He's eating out of a bin.
yep. And if you keep leaving the bags out, he's going to get in there.
That's such a weird thing to believe that he did.
It's just a title.
Okay,
It's not
all right,
a statement of fact. And then it goes into some polyrhythmic stuff, and then it goes into some straight kind of like minor prog things, and it uses like phasing techniques, and then it uses like echoes by changing the pulse width. Look, I'll just play it.
Also, quickly, whilst we're talking about Paganini,
Yeah.
as we're recording this from Chichester, fun cultural fact, he's played here in town in the building on North Street in Chichester.
Really?
They had, I think, Liszt and Paganini play there.
Wow.
And we got Holst Ashes in the cathedral.
We're really lucky.
So it's quite a cultured little town.
It is.
Not that they do much music here anymore.
Also, us.
Us and this. And this is Bodge podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, right.
Okay.
So let's hear this tune.
I'm going to
Wrap
play
up.
all 3 minutes 28, and we'll just end it there.
We'll just wrap up. Cool. Well, should we thank people in advance for listening?
Well, yeah, thank you if you stayed the whole duration.
Yeah.
And found this interesting.
Hopefully you don't hear the song and go, well, that was awful. What a stupid bunch of techniques. And we'll just appreciate there's only one thing happening at a time.
Yeah, the amplitude
Okay.
is either 1 or 0. There's no nuance here.
All right, cool. Let's hear it.